My wife tried to hand me a baby that wasn't mine and expected me to thank her for it. She didn't say it like that, of course. She said it softly, like it was fragile, like it was something sacred I should handle carefully. But the moment she placed that child in my arms, something inside me went very, very still, because I already knew. I just needed her to finish the performance. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 38 years old, and up until 3 weeks ago, I thought I understood exactly what kind of life I was living. Predictable, structured, built on quiet sacrifices that no one ever really notices. I run a mid-sized logistics firm just outside of Dallas. Nothing flashy but stable. The kind of business that doesn't make headlines, but keeps everything moving behind the scenes. My wife, Marissa, used to say she loved that about me. Steady, she'd call it, like it was a compliment. Looking back now, I realized she didn't mean steady. She meant safe. Safe to lie to. Safe to underestimate. Safe to betray. We'd been married for 6 years. No kids. Not for lack of trying. That was a narrative. Anyway, doctor visits. Tests. Careful conversations that always ended with some version of, let's give it more time. Marissa cried about it sometimes. Quietly. Just enough for me to notice, but never enough for me to question. I picked up more work. Took on extra contracts. Told myself I was doing it for our future. What I didn't know was that future didn't include me. The shift started about a year ago. Subtle things. Late nights that didn't quite line up with her schedule. New clothes she couldn't clearly explain. A different tone in her voice when she spoke to me. Less warmth. More obligation. I noticed it. Of course I noticed it. But there's a very specific kind of denial that comes with loving someone for a long time. You don't ignore the signs. You reinterpret them. She's stressed. She needs space. It's just a phase. That's how betrayal survives. Not in darkness, but in the explanations we build to avoid seeing it. The truth didn't come crashing in. It arrived quietly. 6 months ago, I was reviewing expense reports of the business when I saw a charge on one of our shared accounts. A boutique hotel. Midday check-in. 3 hours. It wasn't the amount that caught my attention. It was the timing. Marissa had told me she was visiting her sister that afternoon. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I did something far more dangerous. I started paying attention. Patterns formed quickly after that. Phone calls taken in another room. Messages deleted just a little too quickly. A sudden interest in privacy that had never existed before. And then the confirmation. A name. Daniel. I found it in a receipt tucked inside her purse. Dinner for 2. Wine I knew we'd never order together. I sat in my car that night for almost an hour, staring at that name like it might change if I looked at it long enough. It didn't. So I made a decision. Not to confront her. Not yet. Because the moment you confront a liar, they don't tell the truth. They adjust the story. And I wanted the truth in its purest form. Unedited. Uncontrolled. So I waited. 3 months later, she told me she was pregnant. She did it over dinner. Calm. Controlled. Almost rehearsed. I didn't think it would happen, she said, her eyes glossy in a way that looked practiced. But it's happening now. I remember staring at her, measuring the distance between what she was saying and what I already knew. We should be happy, she added quickly. This is what we wanted, right? Wanted. That word sat between us like something rotten. I smiled, not because I felt it, because I needed her to believe I did. Yeah, I said, we should be. And just like that, the performance became mutual. She played the hopeful mother. I played the supportive husband. And underneath it all, we both knew something was off. The difference was I knew exactly what it was. The months that followed were a masterclass in controlled deception. Doctor appointments I insisted on attending. Timelines I quietly tracked. Details I memorized without reacting to. The math didn't lie. It never does. There's a moment in situations like this where anger should take over, where you're supposed to explode, confront, demand answers. I didn't, because anger is loud, and loud people lose leverage. I stayed quiet. I watched, and I planned. The baby was born on a Thursday. Healthy, quiet, small. Marissa cried when she held him. Real tears this time. That was the first honest thing I'd seen from her in months. And for a brief moment, I almost felt something close to sympathy. Almost. Then she turned to me. "You should hold him," she said softly. There it was, the moment she had been building toward. I walked over slowly, took the child into my arms, looked down at his face, and felt nothing. Not because I'm cold, but because truth has a way of stripping emotion down to its core. And the truth was simple. This wasn't my son. Marissa watched me carefully, studying my reaction, waiting for acceptance, approval, submission. Instead, I smiled, a small one, just enough. "He's beautiful," I said, and that's when I decided exactly how this would end. Not with a fight, not with accusations, but with something far more permanent. Exposure. 2 days later, I told her I wanted to throw a small gathering. "Just family," I said, "close friends, to celebrate." She hesitated, just for a second. Then she nodded, because in her mind, she had already won. The party was held at our house that Sunday. Nothing extravagant, but intentional. Her parents were there, my business partner, a few mutual friends, people who had watched our marriage from the outside and believed in the version of it we had shown them. Marissa moved through the room like everything was perfect, holding the baby, smiling, accepting congratulations she hadn't earned. I watched it all from across the room, calm, patient, waiting for the right moment. It came naturally. It always does. Someone asked about the baby's name. Another joked about who he looked like. And Marissa laughed. Light, carefree, like the story she had built was finally solid. That's when I stood up. "Actually," I said, raising my glass slightly, "there's something I want to share." The room quieted. Marissa looked at me, confused, maybe a little nervous. I reached into my jacket, pulled out a folder, set it on the table in front of everyone. "I've always believed in clarity," I continued, "especially when it comes to family." I opened the folder, slowly, deliberately, and turned it toward the room. DNA test results. Clean, official, impossible to argue with. A few people leaned forward, reading, processing. The shift in the room was immediate. Confusion, then realization, then silence. Heavy, absolute. Marissa didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't speak. Turns out, I said calmly, "I'm not the father." No shouting, no anger, just truth. And sometimes, truth hits harder than anything else. Her mother's face drained of color. Her father looked like he'd been physically struck. Someone dropped a glass in the kitchen. No one picked it up. Marissa finally found her voice. "Ethan, I raised a hand, not aggressively, just enough to stop her. "You had months," I said quietly, "to tell me the truth." She started crying. Real panic now, real fear, but it was too late for that version of her to matter. "I didn't want to lose you," she said, her voice breaking. And that was almost impressive. Not the lie, the timing of it. Because even now, she was trying to negotiate. I nodded slowly. "I know," I said. Then I closed the folder and stepped back. The room didn't recover. Not that day. Probably not ever. Because reputations don't collapse loudly. They unravel in silence. One realization at a time. I filed for divorce the next morning. Full separation. Assets protected. Clean exit. Daniel, the man she thought was worth all of this, never showed up. Not for her. Not for the child. That part didn't surprise me. Men like that rarely stay when the illusion breaks. 3 weeks later, I moved into a new place. Smaller. Quieter. Mine. People ask me if I regret how I handled it. If I wish I had done it differently. More privately. More gently. I don't. Because betrayal isn't just about what someone does behind your back. It's about what they expect you to accept to your face. And Marissa didn't just lie. She tried to rewrite reality. To hand me a life that wasn't mine and call it love, that kind of disrespect doesn't deserve a quiet ending. It deserves clarity. The kind that leaves no room for doubt. No space for revision. Just truth. Unfiltered. Unavoidable. And permanent. The funny thing is, I'm still the same man she thought she could manipulate. Steady, predictable, calm. The only difference now is that I know exactly how dangerous that combination can be.